Hey everyone, and welcome back.
I feel like I manifested this moment. I'm not joking. I feel like from the moment I met you, I was like, I would just love to have you on my podcast. Aww. And I want to tell you a story about when I met you, because I just think it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to go to this reformer Pilates class.
Right.
I was like, I've never done it before.
Yeah.
And I was going with Nikki, who's our mutual friend.
Yeah.
And I got there and she wasn't there, and I just thought, shit, is she going to cancel? Like, oh my god, I have to do this class and I'm rubbish at it, and I only came because of her. It was like an awkward time for me.
Yeah.
And I remember I was next to you.
Yeah.
And I was like next to you, and I just thought, oh my god, this girl is so beautiful. And I couldn't concentrate in the Pilates class, and there was me acting like a monkey. Do you remember? Like the spring like sprung. The woman was like, be careful, slow down. And after that we chatted, and I think one of the things I loved about you was just so open. You were just so open about your journey, and Nikki and I were speaking about it after, and she was like, it's really rare to meet people like you who just tell you everything on the first time you meet them. It is just so rare, and I think every girl at one point in their life feels excluded.
Yeah.
And I just remember when you and Nikki were taking a picture, you were like, come in it.
Yeah.
And I remember that so much, because I just think a lot of other people wouldn't have been like that.
Aww.
And so I'm just so grateful to have you on. And I don't think I've told that story. You don't even know. I haven't even told you that, but I'm just very happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm really touched. I could cry. Honestly,
don't cry.
I really
no, not at all.
Thank you so much. It's so kind. I'm so overwhelmed. Thank you.
No. Well, thank you for coming. I want to talk to you about your book, Manifest.
Yeah.
And so tell me about why you wrote it. Tell me about your journey with manifesting.
So basically, I think when I think about it now, I really never experienced kind of joy or happiness ever. And, I won't go into like all the childhood and all that for now, but then in my 20s, I basically turned to drugs and smoking and alcohol and partying, and just to try and kind of mask the pain of just being me. And I hit loads of rock bottoms throughout that time. But when I was 27, I had gone to do my yoga teacher training in Koh Samui.
Right.
And I thought, this is it. And I'd been doing Iyengar yoga since I was 21. So that was really my safe space. And it was one thing that was like consistent for me. And I did have an affinity to wellness. But I thought, I'm going to go away and I'm going to do this yoga teacher training. And I am going to finally like make the change. And I got back, and within 24 hours I was just back taking drugs. I didn't go to bed for 2 days. I really was then at the rock bottom.
Right.
And I just thought, I'm never going to change. Like, if that can't save me, like if this month away, this like 200 hours of yoga and meditation isn't going to work, like what will?
Yeah.
And then someone told me to listen to this podcast on manifesting.
Right.
And
what podcast was it, by the way?
It was Lacey Phillips was on Love Alexi.
Okay.
And she was talking about the fact that you manifest from your self-worth, and that your self-worth was everything.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I have no self-worth. So of course I'm not manifesting anything good into my life. And I don't really know, something just clicked in me, and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I started listening to like Meet Your Soulmate affirmation playlist every night. And I remember I kept seeing 11:11 all the time, and 22:22.
Right.
I kept seeing it, and I was just kind of started researching and learning about manifesting. And 2 weeks after that, listening to that podcast, Wade messaged me on a dating app called Raya, and a year to the exact day, on the 7th of June, our son was born.
I can't believe that. I heard that in another podcast, and I just thought, that's too weird.
It's too weird.
And you mentioned on that day as well, 3 exes reached out to you, right?
Yeah.
So 3 exes reached out to you.
Yeah.
Your partner at the time reached out to you, and your son was born.
Yeah, and also my ex-boyfriend the one who I mentioned in the book, who was like 25 years older than me, who was really significant about my life, his birthday was on the 7th of June.
It's just mad.
Yeah, and like my longest ever client, her birthday was the 7th of June. So it's like
my
really
God.
significant date. It's really strange.
It's crazy.
So, and then actually, I've never told him, but I then had an operation which I had to get done for ages, and a wait list was, this was like last year, and I've been needing it done. There was a wait list, and I was like begging, I was like, please. And they were like, something's come up on the 7th of June. And I was like, of course it has. And
I feel like you need to get a tattooed on you or something. Like, you definitely
my
should.
first tattoo. So anyway, then I basically really used manifestation to completely transform my life in every single way. And I had, at this point, been sharing on my Instagram, not necessarily about manifesting, but I was doing Agony Aunt Sundays, where I was like helping people every Sunday. I decided to host my first workshop, which was self-love.
Right.
And then in January 2020, I'd said to people, and my Instagram following was relatively small, but I'd said, would you guys want me to do a workshop on manifesting? Because people didn't really know what it was then. It wasn't like a trend like it is now. And people were like, yeah, and I was like, okay. And then...
Wait, what gave you the confidence to do that? Because I feel that what was the time period? Because your self-doubt and all of this stuff was so low. And then suddenly you're like, Agony Aunt Sundays, and then you're hosting workshops. What was it that made you feel like, I can do this?
Well, weirdly, the Agony Aunt Sundays, I started like a week before I fell pregnant. And in my pregnancy, I had a really, really dark time. It was the darkest depression I'd ever been in. But what gave me this like hope was that every Sunday I would be able to help other people. And that really like pulled me through.
Yeah.
But through my pregnancy, through that kind of darkness and pain, I knew that once I had Wolf, I would never ever allow myself to feel that way again.
Right.
I was like, I will make myself the best I can. I now had to support myself and not just me but my son.
Right.
And I needed to make a career for myself. Like, it wasn't like a choice, like I had to do it.
I feel when people become mums, they say that, like, your priorities just change.
Yeah.
Like, everything is about that baby because you just love them so much.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just had this incredible drive and motivation just to... I felt like I'd wasted so many years hiding, and I knew I was here to like help people and inspire people, and I was like, I'm just gonna fucking go for it. And I did, and I threw everything into it, and I followed all my own steps.
Right.
And so when it came to the first manifesting workshop, I had thought to myself, how can I explain manifesting? It's such a huge practice. For me, it was, and I still say now, it's a self-development practice to live by. Visualization is the very beginning of the journey. And I was on a walk, and I came up with the 7 steps probably in about 5 minutes.
Right.
It was just instinctive. And what
just came to you naturally.
Yeah. And what was really cool was afterwards, I would always listen and read about manifestation, of course, and everything I would hear would fit into one of these 7 steps. And so I was so confident. I was like, yeah, this really is it. This does really explain everything you need to know. And it was working for me, and it was working for people coming to the workshops, and then they became webinars during the pandemic, and it grew. And then at the start of 2021, I was like, okay, I'm ready to manifest my book deal, which I did. And yeah, I think... You know, it's crazy. This time last year, I was just writing my first book, and now...
And now you are Sunday Times bestseller for how many weeks in a row?
10 so far, yeah.
It's cool. I told him it was 7. It's 10. That's mad.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I met you on the day that it was the first week. Do you remember?
Oh, really?
You were so happy. You were like, oh my God.
Oh, yes, I hadn't announced it yet.
You hadn't announced it.
Yeah, I do remember.
And you were like so happy it was like just there for 1 week.
Yeah.
So for it to be there for 10 weeks it's such a big achievement.
Thank you so
and it's
much.
honestly amazing. So I wanted to ask, The Secret has been out for a while. And I think a lot of the time when people have an idea, they think, well, it's there already. You know, people are already talking about it, or someone's already made this, or someone's already done this. What made you feel that you could reshape it and actually, you know, your book has been called The Modern Day Secret, which is mad, honestly, just that in itself. What made you think at that time, like, I know exactly what I want from this book or this subject, and I can make it different. I can do it differently, I guess.
Well, I'd never seen anywhere explain it in like a step-by-step process.
There isn't, yeah.
There just isn't anything like it.
Yeah, there isn't.
And I felt like I really hope in everything that I do that I make self-development really accessible and really practical and really digestible for, especially for people that really may not have thought of themselves as kind of inclined to read about things like manifesting or self-help. And I want to make it cool. Like I want people to feel proud that they're reading a self-help book. And
well, I think they will after Bella Hadid carried it in her hand.
yeah,
that was another crazy moment.
So yeah, I mean, I also think that, look, there's 1,000 amazing teachers and there are 1 million people wanting to learn, and everybody learns from somebody different, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not competing with anyone. I think there are plenty of amazing teachers of manifestation, and what works, like you might read mine and really get on with it and understand it, or or somebody else might read it and think, oh, this doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah.
So, and it's just the same way, like I have certain people that I look to that, like, the way that they communicate their message, I really hear, and it really makes sense. And someone else might communicate the same message but in a different way, and I don't respond to it as well. So
everyone has their own unique talent and their own unique way of saying something or bringing something about. Like, there's like thousands and millions actually of podcasts in the world, but people will listen to the ones that they resonate with or who they enjoy. And so anyone who's starting something new, I always tell them that you have your own touch. It's just you're not aware of it, right? Totally. And you put that block. And one of the things you talk about in the book is limiting beliefs. Yeah. Now, how does somebody overcome their limiting beliefs? Actually, wait, hold on. First of all, I haven't even asked you this question. What is manifesting? People who are watching this and thinking, what is manifesting? Like you said, it's more than visualization. It's more than, I don't know, just sitting there thinking you want something. Yeah. You can't manifest the lottery, which is what everyone always thinks, says back. But what is manifesting? What does it mean to manifest?
So my kind of definition is that manifesting is the ability to use the power of your mind to change and create the reality you experience. And I think one thing that I really tried to explain is that it's not a ritual. It's not something that you do for 20 minutes a night before bed. It is a way of living, and it's about empowering you to be the best version of yourself so that you can make things happen. And really at the core of it is self-love, self-worth, and I don't know, like, I am so passionate about manifesting.
I can see.
Like, I really feel that everybody can benefit from the practice, because it's about so many things. It's about overcoming your fears and doubts, your insecurities, your limiting beliefs. It's about embracing full gratitude for all that you already have and seeing the beauty already around you. It's about stepping outside your comfort zone, aligning your behavior. There's just so much valuable kind of things like information to take from manifesting that will just help anybody to feel better, live better, and be happier.
And how do you start? So how would you start manifesting something that you want now?
I've really struggled with this question, and because so many people in every interview I get, someone says, like, okay, what's your first tip to someone to manifest? And I'm like, honestly, just read the book. That's
why I wrote it, guys.
It's so annoying of me, but I don't think there is one thing, because there's so many different elements to it.
And it's a journey, right? You can't just click your fingers and think, okay, I'm manifesting now. Like you said, it's a practice.
Yeah, and there's so many... I couldn't sit here and say, okay, start doing your gratitude list or start doing mantras, or, because yes, all of those things help, but everything has to work in, like, together. And so my book is a really easy read, and that is my starting tip for everyone.
Good sell. Good sell, Roxie. This is why I wrote Sunday Times bestseller for 10 weeks in a row, because you're just like, I have the solution for your question. One of the things that I think people really struggle with is self-doubt. And it's very easy for negative thoughts to come into some people's minds. Like, for me, I think it's very easy if something small happens, for like a negative thought to just come in. What's some of your tips for overcoming self-doubt, or just do you block those negative thoughts, or does that still happen to you?
I mean, definitely. But I think that there's so many things. I think the first thing is really just starting to have the awareness. Everything starts with awareness. Our thoughts are so repetitive, and often we actually are allowing them to come in, and we're not even consciously kind of aware of them. They're just the chatter is going on, and we're not even stopping for a second to be like, whoa, like listen to how you're talking to yourself.
Right.
So I think everything always will start with awareness, and then I think for me there's like different ways you can do it. I think practically speaking, let's say you have a limiting belief or you have self-doubt around starting your new business.
Right.
In that sense, I think there really is a case of like understanding that you can have the feeling of self-doubt, you can have the thoughts, but acting in spite of them, like transcending it. And that's where kind of like align your behavior comes in. It's acting as your most confident self would. It's almost like stepping into the character of your most confident self. And in the doing, in the action, you actually prove your doubt wrong.
Yes,
and
you're
so
doing it yourself.
I think that kind of proactiveness really helps. Then I think using, mantras regularly are so powerful because firstly, you can have it in your toolbox. You can only have one thought at a time. So when the self-doubt comes in, then in a critic, you reframe, you say a mantra, you replace the thought. I think it's about compassion. I think compassion is kind of at the core of self-love as well, and just being able to be soft and gentle with yourself, like harnessing that feminine energy and applying it to ourselves. I definitely feel that that's something that has really helped me. When that self-doubt comes in, I don't even stand for it. It's like a non-negotiable. Really? I'm like, no, like I'm going to choose a different thought. And it is a choice. Everything is a choice. And I think to some extent, we have to take responsibility for that.
Right.
But I do understand it's not easy, and there are lots of things that you can do to help your journey. Reiki healing, therapy, counseling, hypnotherapy, meditation, journaling. Do it all. Like immerse yourself in self-development. Removing self-doubt is not something that anybody can do overnight. It is a committed journey, and it's being consistent.
And that's the thing, it's a journey. So, even now when I have thoughts that are negative, sometimes I'll think like, why am I having these negative thoughts? I'm reading so much, I'm doing so much, I'm so proud of myself one day. But I think it's really important to understand that you're going to have times where you think negative thoughts, and it's just that you just push them out of the way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And everyone always says the way you speak to your friends or the way you speak to your family when something's gone wrong is totally different from the way you speak to yourself.
Yeah.
And I really believe in the power of affirmations. And I know you have released these mantra cards,
yeah.
and they're sold out too. Your book was sold out. Actually, the day I met you, you were like, my book's sold out. And I thought, oh shit, I don't want to read it. But then the next day, you posted a story, it's out, so I got it. Can you believe that? It was literally like the next day. So I really do believe in the way you speak to yourself really creates that energy around you.
Definitely.
And I said this in my other podcast, I just don't think energy lies. I think when you meet somebody who just radiates and oozes this positive energy, you absorb it. And so also being really aware of the people you surround yourself with, and the way they speak to you is like a non-negotiable for me now. If I feel someone has bad energy, they're blocked.
100%.
Like they're muted.
Do you know what?
And if they're negative in my family, I'm just like, I'm not talking to you.
I love that.
I just refuse.
I think that's so good. I do this thing where I don't get it much, like probably like 1%, but if I get trolling messages, immediate block. Immediate block.
Have you seen that meme when it's like,
I literally am like, block. Because I'm like, why the fuck do I want that negative energy? I don't want them just seeing what I do. And when I'm reading like lovely messages, I don't want them sending me a message and like killing my vibe.
But it's interesting, isn't it, that when we get a lot of positive feedback, and someone told me this yesterday, she went for her end of year review, and one of my friends was like, I got told all this positive feedback, but I got told this one constructive piece, and I focused on that. And it's interesting, so many people message you lovely things, but if there's one person there that just says something negative, you're just like, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, do you know what I think it is though? It's when it triggers your own insecurities is when it really like hits. So I think like sometimes I read, like I get caught on reviews, like if I'm scrolling and then I see like there are some nasty little reviews. And if it triggers something I've already felt a bit insecure about, then it really hurts. If it's something that actually I'm like, I don't have any issue with that with myself, it's fine. So I think the negative feedback hurts more depending on, firstly, your state of mind at the time of reading it, of course, and also if it's triggering something that's unhealed within you.
This is the thing. I think when some people sometimes say something negative to me, I'm like, I'm not even offended by what you're saying because like
it's so ridiculous.
It's so untrue. So I don't really care. But you're right. When it's like a flaw within yourself that also you're working on, and then someone like bashes you for it, you just think, oh my god, everybody thinks this, and everyone's going to see it, so now everyone's going to think this about me, which is just totally untrue. I just think social media is exaggerated so much in that way.
Just going to say that I think in terms of like even thinking about like what other people are thinking, I really feel that on the road to any kind of success, whatever success looks like for you, you literally have to be so focused on your own goals, and you cannot give to what anyone else thinks.
Right.
You have to let go of the need for validation or worry about the opinion of others. Like, I would never have got here, even this far, if I had still been worrying what other people think. Because, you know, when I started, most people in the industry also just saw me as this like cokehead in London that would party all the time. Like, who was going to take me seriously? And I had to consciously not think for a second about their opinions or if they trusted it. I knew that for me, I was authentic, it was true, this was my purpose, and I was just not going to worry. And the same with when the book came out. If I had sat there going, oh God, I better not, you know, put up my stories too much in case people think I'm annoying. You know, would never have, I don't think, you know, I had to be my own salesperson, which I think a lot of people, especially freelancers, really struggle with.
You do, because you feel like you're showing off all the time.
Yeah, but I'm like, no, you've got to be your best. You've got to pitch yourself like better than anyone else, because you can be proud of yourself without being boastful.
Exactly.
There's a difference.
There is such a big difference. I think what's really hard though now is when you launch something new, you can see how many people like it and don't like it. When you put it on social media, let's say for example you release this book, and people didn't love it, and therefore naturally you'd be thinking, well, people don't love it now, and you're then thinking about what other people think. Does that make sense? So what advice would you give to people to just completely block out the noise? Because if they're not getting that attraction on social media, if they're not getting the likes and the validation, and that's what you talk about, is just get rid of validation, how do you fight through that?
I think you just got to understand what your why is. Like, why are you doing it in the first place? Surely you're not doing it for likes on Instagram. Like, that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it for something like greater. You're doing it to fulfill some something within you, or to make you to help others, or to give back, or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Focus on that. You know, the likes, the social media stuff it's irrelevant. You know, what's important is you know, that you love it and that it makes you feel good, and
I think that comes across. That comes across, doesn't it? When you're doing something that you truly love, even if you're not getting that validation from people at first, and you're just like, I don't need it, it will come.
100%.
It will really come, and like that's what I truly believe about my podcast. And I may be really premature to say this, but I think a lot of the times, and I'm going to be quite vulnerable here, a lot of the times I base my value on the followers I have. And I think, well, they're not going to come on my podcast because I don't have that many followers. But I do get them, and people want to come. And then when I think, okay, when I'm having really powerful conversations, I just think, I don't care. Like, and this is, I always think this is like the best part of the journey. Like, I uploaded a video last week and it got 20 views in like a day. And I was just like, this is going to be such a great story to tell. And I always listen to podcasts like Joe Wicks when he said like one person came to his class and like 2 people came. And it took like loads and loads and loads of time and persistence. And I truly believe that when you're really passionate about something, and the podcast just makes me so happy having these insightful conversations with amazing people, I just feel that it will come.
It will.
And I'm not worried.
Good.
And that's the thing,
That's step 7, trust in the universe.
Need to move on. Oh, I'm done now actually, aren't I? The steps are done, I've completed it. I'm now a manifesting guru, guys. If you need any help, just ignore Roxie, come to me. But one of the things I really wanted to speak to you about is what's the difference between manifesting and being completely delusional? So I haven't seen this documentary, but the Kanye documentary, I think it's called Genius. I was going to say it's called Genius. It's obviously not called Genius. I think it's called Genius. And he basically talks about, in that, how he bought really expensive jewellery because he wanted to manifest the person he was going to become. He always knew he was going to be really successful, and so he spent a lot of money, which he didn't really have, on expensive jewellery. Now, how do you distinguish someone who's manifesting their dream home or their dream life? And like, you know, you say you have to embody yourself in that experience. How would you feel? How would you react? How would you spend your money? What's the lifestyle you would have compared to someone who's just completely delusional, who's just spending loads of money on expensive things when they actually are broke?
It'd be if you were just being very reckless without a clear goal, without aligning your behaviour, without doing all this, like, everything else involved. But I absolutely think you cannot be realistic. The minute you're saying I need to be realistic, you are absolutely just putting a block around you. I truly believe that.
Right.
Like, everybody that's like, I need to be realistic, I'm like, all right, you're already blocking yourself.
Right.
Like, your limits of your reality are the limits of your mind. Like, that is a fact. So
don't be realistic. Just go for it. Because that's
go
what
for it.
people say.
If you want it, keep going and be persistent. Look at all the, like, I just love reading about really successful people and their traits and how they got there. And persistence is key. Like,
honestly,
the ability to just keep going, keep driving forwards.
And believing that you're going to do it. Have you seen King Richard?
Oh, it's amazing.
It's the best movie.
And that is
ever.
like, your self-belief is your superpower. That quote is literally that film.
That, you know, I
It's
run
amazing.
4 times a week in the gym.
Yeah.
And every single time since that movie's come out, I watch the trailer. I know every word.
But
I could recite it to you right now. Because the second I get into the gym in the morning, all I see is Will Smith telling his kids, "You're a champion," and everyone knows it.
I love that.
And you can do a woman, like the quote is, you know, the most powerful thing in the world is a woman who knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And like don't worry about us, what we look like. Just know that you're gonna be successful.
Yeah.
And like I had this plan for you, and it's all about the law of attraction. It's all about manifestation.
100%.
It's all about self-belief.
Yeah,
and like I just love the fact he believed in his kids so much.
Oh my god, it's such a beautiful story and film. I think everybody should watch it.
Everybody should watch it. Yeah, like if I don't start my day without that, I just feel like I just haven't started it. Like I'm still not bored of it, and you know sometimes I still get teary when I'm running because I just think, you know, now there's so much negativity in the world, and when you truly believe in yourself, people see it as arrogance.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
What do you think is the difference of being arrogant and just really believing that it's going to work out for you?
I mean, I think this is a really important question because I think this fear of being arrogant is actually such an issue, especially in the UK.
Right.
But an arrogant person, like arrogance is to literally think that you are better than someone else. Okay, that is either something, that is either something you believe or it's not. Okay, if you believe that, then yeah, sure, you're arrogant. But if you're just like in your own zone, in your own lane, like, do you know what? I'm gonna do my best. I know I can do it. That is self-belief, and who cares what anyone else thinks? Like, you have to, like, I really champion being able to celebrate ourselves, and that's why I really openly celebrate myself. Like, I'm really able to be like, hey, I'm really proud of this thing I've done, and I don't do it because I'm trying to like boast, but actually I'm trying to give people permission to do it too. Like, I want people to know that we can actually say, hey, I did good. Like, I'm really proud of this.
Yes.
Like, we can celebrate ourselves. We can
that comes across.
Have that self-belief. And it's just in the same way that I think you can be kind and have really clear boundaries.
Yes.
You can be both. You can be like vulnerable and open and also be really strong and, you know, empowered. You can be, you know, there's a duality to us. And I think that with too often, especially I think with women to women, we look at confident girls, and I do speak about this in the book, but because we're envious of that confidence, we pass it as judgment and we say, oh, she's so arrogant. And then that feeds into our subconscious. We think, oh my God, if I'm confident, that makes me arrogant, or people think I'm arrogant, I'm then unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I have really had to force myself to step out of that belief system.
I feel like that was setting
help.
boundaries. I feel that when I set boundaries and I'm firm, people are going to think I'm a bitch, and they're going to think I'm too rigid. But now I'm just like, you have one life.
Yeah.
I'm going to die, and no one's going to remember me. Like, I'm not that important. Even if I'm the president, no, seriously, even if I'm like Mahatma Gandhi, I love him, and he was an amazing character in life, but do people talk about the intricacies of what he was like every single day?
Yeah.
So, the way you are and the way you want to live your life is truly about you.
100%.
And so there are going to be people that don't like you.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like such a people pleaser. And I feel like if people don't like me, I'm like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
It's because of this, or my hair didn't look nice, or
Yeah.
they didn't like my jacket, and so I'm a terrible dresser. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's like everything about you can critique yourself,
Totally.
or you can just look at yourself and be like, you're amazing.
Yeah.
And you can have that self-love and that
Yeah.
self-power.
I always look at, like, my Wade said this to me once. He was like, look at all the people that you love and admire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was like, take anyone, take Tony Robbins, okay? I love him, I think he's
love
fab.
it. So great.
Right? He's like, 50% of people do not like Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
They think he's really annoying.
Yeah.
They think he's this and this.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 50% absolutely love him. Anybody on this planet is equally loved and liked and unliked at the same time.
So true.
And I think that for me was really, when I had this such need, I wanted everyone to like me, and I was like, I'm just going to be me. There are going to be people that like me, and there are going to be people that think I'm just so annoying, and that maybe they will call me arrogant behind my back because they don't know me or whatever, and I'm just going to be okay with that. And I think for all of us, if we can just be okay with that, it's really liberating.
I saw this reel the other day, and it was just like, if you're worried about people being people thinking that you're cringy, don't worry.
Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Someone's always going to think you're cringy, or you're annoying, or you talk about something too much. Like, my feed is full of my podcast, and the other day I was like, should I stop uploading it so much? And I was like, no.
Good.
I love it.
That.
Like, why? Like, there's going to be there's some people who message me and like, your podcast has helped me so much.
Aww.
And then there's others who just like, don't like my content, and I'm just like, stop following me. You're just like, why are you following me? But and it's really interesting you say that, because I look at your feed and I don't think you show off at all. But someone else may look at it and think that you do, because there are some people I follow and I'm just like, you're so annoying. You're just constantly talking about how you're balancing like 15 different things. But for you, I actually think the way you come across isn't like, I'm a mum and I have this book and I've released the mantra card and I've released the journal and I'm doing all this stuff. And you are balancing a lot. So how do you balance it all? Because you're such a great mum to your son, who's just so cute, and you're just so successful. Like, this has been probably the hardest 3 months, right, in your career. Not hardest, but like the busiest time. You're like doing something every day. How do you manage doing that with having a baby?
I think weirdly this has been the easiest time.
Really?
The hard work was way in the lead up. Like, I didn't take a day off for like 2.5 years. Like,
How old was Wolf then?
From when Wolf was 4 months, I started, and I basically just didn't stop.
Oh my God.
But I think actually the grind at the beginning is like
the fun part.
The grind at the begining is fun because there's all these little achievements, but that's like the really hard work. I was waking up at 5, working, going to bed, working, and that's what you got to do. And I loved it. This has been like really fun because I get to do things like this.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, every day is really busy. I still really struggle with burnout. I get really overwhelmed.
It's probably because you're so nice and you say yes to everyone.
I get really like, because there's so much adrenaline, especially doing workshops and corporate events and, things like this or whatever, coaching. There's just a lot of adrenaline and some people I think can maybe handle that. I know my body. I really, after like a month of doing it non-stop, I start to feel really depleted. I start to feel really anxious. My breath starts going. And so I think for me, I've actually started to schedule in like where I can give myself 3 days off.
Okay, amazing.
I just have to reset. And I was like, wait a second, I work for myself. I can just put this in my diary when I know I've got a really busy time coming. And so that helps me to really like balance it.
And what do you do on those days off to kind of like recoup and reset?
Yoga,
Pilates.
walking, Pilates. I love watching TV.
Really?
Like, I never watched TV for like years, and now I'm a TV series addict. I'm obsessed. Every evening is my wind down after I've done my like evening routine. I set myself like an hour and a half or 2 hours, if depending what time Wolf goes to bed, and I watch a really good TV series that I can immerse myself in, that I'm not thinking about anything else, and I love it, and it's actually been really good for me.
That's so good. I think people don't talk about rest enough.
Yeah.
I actually saw the funniest TikTok the other day. Did you see Kim Kardashian's TikTok about like, you have to work?
Yeah.
And everyone has to work. There was one that this girl did, she was just like, you have to rest. And not enough people rest. And I just think that people don't want to rest these days. And it was so powerful because actually
It's true.
I think I'm in the middle of the camp though. Because I also think you do have to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
But I think that you also have to be, like you said, aware of your body and like your limits.
Yeah.
So I'm quite similar like you, like I'm an adrenaline junkie. Like I wake up at 5 and I go to sleep at like 9:30. And I love it. But then there are times where I crash. But I'm fine with that. Because when my life is slow paced, I find it too hard.
Right.
I find it boring. I like to have a million things going on. And so I think everyone's different. Like some people need 8 hours of sleep. I average about 5. Yeah.
Oh my
so
God, I'm in bed at 9.
Yeah. So I wish I could be that person. Yesterday I was uploading one of my podcasts. I woke up at 3 a.m. and I was like, is it uploaded? And I'm not joking, I went onto my laptop, I had uploaded, and I was like, thank God. And then I had 2 Instagram notifications, which I shouldn't have looked at, and then I was like, what if it's from you? What if it's something important? So I was like, okay, just look at that, and then I had to be like, okay, you can go to bed now. Like, come on, go to bed. I did a guided meditation, it was like 4:30, I don't know what time I went to bed. And then, you know, for me, I'm just a bit like, I'm in the kind of camp of like, just get on with it. But I'm aware that I do burn out as well, so I do try to take like 1 day off on the weekend where I just do nothing. And I just don't look at my phone, and I just, like you said, just sometimes just enjoy TV. Like Emily in Paris, for me, 100%. When I had lockdown, that was just such a mood. That was like another King Richard for me. It was just so mood boosting. But anyway, before we close this podcast, I wanted to ask you for one of your biggest tips on manifesting. I know you said you don't have like one tip. But for someone who's struggling, who's a bit older, and is just thinking, you know, I just can't change my thoughts, because your thoughts become your reality, and I truly believe that. But for someone who's thinking, you know, what's the one thing I can take away from this podcast, what would it be?
I think it's that every decision we make is integral to our well-being and our state of mind and the way that we manifest. And I think it's starting to realise that from the minute we wake up to the minute we go to bed, we have infinite amount of possibilities to increase our self-worth and increase our capacity for self-love. And when you have awareness that you have that choice and that decision to make, that's life-changing, because whether you snooze your alarm is a choice, whether you drink enough water, whether you work out, whether you set boundaries, whether you say yes to something or you say no to something that you don't want to do, whether, like, everything you do matters. And it's almost just this, having this awareness and starting to practice throughout each day, noticing that choice is like, is this a self-loving choice to make? And is there another way to do it? Is there a more empowering choice I can make now? And just having that, I think, is a really great starting point.
I love that, and I think what you talk about having an opportunity every day, I really believe it just takes one person to change. It just takes one person to change your life.
Definitely.
Like, it takes one person to notice you, like walking across the street, and like that could be your date, that could be your husband. It takes one person to notice your Instagram, and you could have a book deal. You could have a TV show. And it really can happen. And so waking up with that mindset that every day can bring like limitless opportunities and possibilities, for me, is just so important as well. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for
making time for me.
Of course.
I appreciate it so much.
No,
and
thank you so
if you
much.
haven't bought Roxie's book or the mantra cards, please buy them. They are amazing.
Thank you.
So thank you for
Thank you
coming
so
on.
much, my love. That was so lovely.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening or watching, if you could press the like, follow and subscribe button, it would mean the world to me.